For today's video, we're talking about how to use order of operations on problems with positive and negative integers. So please start as usual by writing down your learning target, writing down the date. Our learning target today is I can use order of operations on problems with integers. The date is whatever date you are watching this video on. Your I know is what you already know. So for example, we already know a lot about order of operations because we already have taken a test on that in Unit 1. So you could write, I know how to use order of operations with positive numbers, but I don't know how to do it with negative numbers yet, or whatever it is that you already know. We have no vocabulary today, so that leads us on to our examples. So please pause the video here if you need a moment to get caught up on all that and restart it when you're ready. So we're going to start, I'm going to do a couple examples of problems that include order of operations with negative numbers, just to make sure that we see how even adding negatives to order of operations, it's not going to change anything about how we solve those problems. So we're going to do a couple problems together here. The first problem that I want to do for you is 2 plus 3 times negative 4 divided by 6. So looking at this with order of operations, I don't have any parentheses. I don't have any exponents. Remember that order of operations is PEMDAS. So I have no parentheses, no exponents. I do have multiplication and division. So starting at the left and working my way to the right, I see that the first thing I have is 3 times negative 4. 3 times negative 4, okay, that's a positive times a negative. If I do a positive times a negative, I know that that means my answer will be negative. And then 3 times 4 is 12. So 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Now I can continue the problem by just bringing down the rest of my steps. So I have that plus 2 and that divide by 6. So my new problem is 2 plus negative 12 divided by 6. I see that I still have a division, so that means I'm still in the multiply divide step. So here I'll do negative 12 divided by 6. Okay? Well, I have a negative divided by a positive, so that means my answer will be negative. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. So that means negative 12 divided by negative 6, positive 6 is negative 2. That leaves me with 2 plus negative 2. If I do 2 plus negative 2, well, this is a positive and a negative. So if I think about my chipboard, my 2 positives and my 2 negatives, those will actually cancel each other out. My answer to this problem is actually 0. Okay? We're going to do a couple more examples here. For the next example, our problem is going to be 5 minus negative 4 squared plus negative 4 times 5. So if you would like to try this on your own, please pause the video here and see what you can do with it. Otherwise, hopefully at this point you have paused the video and tried to solve the problem at your own, and now we'll continue. We start always with parentheses. So here in parentheses, I have 5 minus negative 4. When I subtract a negative, that's the same as just adding. Okay? So instead of 5 minus negative 4, 5 minus negative 4 is the same as 5 adding positive 4, because subtracting is always the same as adding the opposite. So instead of minus negative 4, I turn this into a plus positive 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. That's still to the second power. Plus negative 4 times 5. Okay? No more parentheses, so I move on to exponents. I still see that I have one exponent here. 9 to the second power is 9 times 9. 9 times 9 is 81. And then I still have plus negative 4 times 5. I can move on to the multiply divide step of PEMDAS now. I see that I have negative 4 times 5. Negative 4 times 5. Well, negative times a positive, that means my answer is going to be negative. And 4 times 5 is 20. So I have negative 20. And I still have this plus 81. Hopefully you can see that the more organized I am while I'm solving these, the easier it is to actually solve them. So then I have 81 plus negative 20. These will cancel out. So my 20 negatives will cancel out 20 of my positives. And that will leave me with positive 61. Okay? One more example like these that I want to do. And then I'm going to show you one other type of problem today. So my last just plain order of operations problem is going to be negative 25 divided by 5 times 3 plus negative 4 minus 1 squared. Okay? Starting with parentheses, negative 4 minus 1. Well, if I use my adding the opposite, this will be the same as negative 4. I change it to addition, and the opposite of 1 is negative 1. So this will be negative 4 plus negative 1 in my parentheses. Adding this, negative 4 plus negative 1, that gives me negative 5. And I'm just going to leave those parentheses for a second because I do have that squared, and I want to not get confused. And then I just bring down the rest of my problem, everything else that was above. Okay? So now I have negative 5 to the second power. And what that means is that I'm going to be doing negative 5 times negative 5 for my exponent step. Well, a negative times a negative, that's going to be positive. So that means negative 5 times negative 5 will be positive, and 5 times 5 is 25. Once again, bringing down the rest of my numbers from my problem. I can move on to my multiplication division step. So I see I have a divide and a times. So working my way from left to right, negative 25 divided by 5. Well, negative divided by a positive I know is negative. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. So I have negative 5 times 3 plus 25. I see I still have multiplication, so I'll do my negative 5 times 3. Negative times a positive, my answer will be negative. And 5 times 3 is 15. So I have negative 15 plus 25. A negative plus a positive, that means they're canceling each other out. So 15 of my negatives will cancel out 15 of my positives, leaving me with 10 positive. Okay? The last thing I want to show you with order of operations is how to find the mean. So when we're finding the mean, this mean is the same as the average. And to do that, we're just going to add all the numbers. And then we're going to divide by how many numbers there are. Okay? This can also be called the average. Okay? So let's say I asked you to find the mean of negative 16 plus 17 plus 18, plus 8 plus negative 23 plus negative 31. Okay? If I was going to add all these things up, so I will start with negative 16 plus 17. Negative 16 plus 17, that gives me 1. Bringing down the rest of my problem. Okay, now I have 1 plus 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. I'm 9 plus negative 23 plus negative 31. Next, I'll do the 9 plus the negative 23. 9 plus negative 23. We'll have 9 positives. We'll cancel out 9 of my negatives. That leaves me with negative 14 plus negative 31. And then a negatives plus a negative, that means we're combining all the negatives. 14 negatives plus 31 negatives, that leaves me with negative 45. So far what I've done is the add all the numbers step here. So the next thing I need to do is divide by how many numbers there are. So I need to know how many numbers there are. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 numbers. That means that my second step here is to do negative 45 divided by 5. Well, this is a negative divided by a positive, so I know my answer will be negative. And then 45 divided by 5 is just 9. So that means that my mean is negative 9. Let me know if you have any questions about this assignment, or if you need any help with anything. Feel free to rewatch or pause any sections that you need help with. And as always, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.